This is the Rival Podcast. I am Neal. Today we talk waivers, bold predictions, not so obvious locks of the week for week 5. There's a lot of exciting stuff on this episode. Of course, I'm joined by Bruce. What's up, Bruce?
What's going on, man? How's it going?
Good, man. I'm ready to talk some waivers. I'm ready to see where we are aligned, maybe where we disagree. You are now listening to the Rival Fantasy Sports Podcast. Let's go. There's no reason not to just jump straight into this. Let's look into waivers because this is what everyone cares about. Everyone's trying to win for week 4. They're trying to get their edge on their competition. So let's go ahead and look ahead. Who do you have at the top of your priority list, Bruce?
Easy. I would say if he's still out there on the waivers, I would say Khalil Herbert, 100%. If he's still out there, you definitely got to pick him up. I think in most leagues, he's probably not going to be out there, not available. But if he is, you got to run to the waiver wire to pick him up because he has the talent to be to me, an RB1 level back. Not the RB1, but an RB1 type level player. And they're not passing the ball in Chicago. So what are they going to do? You're going to pass the ball? No, they're going to run the ball. So, and with Montgomery potentially out for maybe a week or two, I think Khalil Herbert could provide some value right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know I love him, man.
Man.
I love him. If people would just trade him.
Yeah, you gotta make me an offer, man.
Not looking at you, Bruce.
A real offer.
Not looking at you, Bruce. Not blaming you for anything. You know, nobody specific. Not saying names. Yeah, I mean, since you're mentioning, Khalil Herbert. I mean, dude, this guy's great, man.
Okay.
And, you know, if he gets the opportunity, you know, more than just when someone gets hurt, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I think so. I think the talent's there, man, and I think everyone can see it. Like he's the better. Yeah. To me, he's the better running back in that system.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously Montgomery has done well too, but it's like I think he's better personally. You know,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to start just by I have to mention Matt Collins. I know we talked about him last episode, and I know you feel like what he did last week wasn't going to continue. I agree that that's not going to continue, but I just want to mention him. It kind of is like a sneakier player if you're in a deeper league. Not obviously if you're in a 10-team, 12-team league, you know, there's not much bench, then he's not necessary. But I do think that he is sneaky, especially when certain, you know, for receivers hurt or whatever's going on. I just think that I didn't go into the season thinking that Devontae Adams, Waller, Renfro, all these guys were going to actually open up targets for other guys besides them. And now, you know, he's just kind of opened my eyes to that. So, yeah, I think he's a good sleeper, but I don't want to start with the sleeper. I mean, I already started with him, but I don't want to just say the sleeper. But I did say before the season, this guy, and even if you haven't been a believer in some leagues, you still have a chance to get this guy, and that's Isaiah McKenzie in Buffalo. I know it was a point of contention on like, you know, fantasy football Twitter, all these places. A lot of people didn't believe that he was gonna, you know, be a guy there or be relevant enough. But he's been consistent enough, man, to be in your flex. You know what I mean? And in an offense like this, where Josh Allen is just throwing like crazy. And guys like we know the Stephon Diggs, we know the Gabriel Davises, but McKenzie's getting underneath. He's making things happen. So right your wrongs if he's still available, and get him on your team, and have him in there for maybe when one of your starters are out, or if you need to, you know, flex, you're in a bad spot. Isaiah McKenzie is definitely worthy of a waiver. So if he's still there, I just want to make sure if he's still there, do not forget about him.
Yeah, I think that's a good recommendation. I think you just want pieces that builds offense, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think if any injuries do befall any of those receivers ahead of him, his value goes up even more, right? Because he's definitely going to continue commanding targets from the slot. I think that's a good recommendation.
For sure. Let's see. Who else do you got on there? I got a few more, or a couple more.
Yeah, I would say. Obviously Zay Jones. I'm a sneaky Jaguars fan, I guess. Listen, in that offense, they're giving Trevor Lawrence the green light to pass. You know, they're giving the green light to pass. They're giving him very easy passes. You know, whether it's dump offs to a wide receiver screen, whether it's passes across the middle, crossing routes. They're giving him very easy plays, and I think guys like Zay Jones, he is going to command targets. So him and Christian Kirk. But I think if you again in deeper leagues, if you need a receiver to kind of stash, or one for a quick week replacement, I think Zay Jones could be that guy. So.
Yeah, that's a good pick. He's another guy who's kind of like his past kind of haunts him. Like people, he wasn't consistent, and so people just kind of fell off on him. Listen, he was with the Raiders for the last few years, and I'm a big Raider fan, obviously, and so I know. I mean, this dude, he's also just a good dude, hard worker. Like he's all those things that you want besides like the guy's good at football. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like so, it's good to see him get an opportunity to like really flourish in Jacksonville. And they signed a whole bunch of guys and added a bunch of wide receivers. You're like, how's there room for all these guys? But they're making it work. A guy I have here on the list is Trayvon Burks, man. I know we've talked about Titans wide receivers here already, not today, but in future past episodes. But man, this guy gave us a flash of the type of season that I feel like he's on the brink of having. He did not get enough targets. The opportunity, wasn't like this ample opportunity, like tons of targets, but the ones he did get, he made a lot of stuff happen, and he flashed those things where you're like, oh, this dude is like not just getting the ball, he's actually really good at this. So I would say invest in him now, before it's too late. He's just Robert Woods is not really doing jack out there. Definitely someone you should buy now before it's too late. Get in on that. One other guy that I had that I want to get out before you may have another one is another rookie. This one is Colts tight end Jelani Woods. Had his first big game of the season. I know rookie tight ends are like scary to trust. It's kind of iffy. Can they block? Are they, are they getting enough work? But I think it's gonna be hard for that Colts offense to ignore him. You got to vet QB. He found a big time target. The guy has all the measurables, everything you want as a background in his life for being a star tight end. So it's happening sooner than I thought it would. I hope it's not just a flash. But it's a guy who, if you're in 2 tight end leagues and redraft, if in Dynasty he's already gone, obviously someone has him on their roster. But if you're in like a 2 tight end league, redraft league, and someone hasn't, stashed him, or if you're in a bad spot again, injuries, this, that, he's not a bad guy to just take a chance on. Hope he has another huge game when you need him.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. I may have to go check my waiver wire, see if he's out there. Yeah, so I think for me, I think I have just 2 I'm going to name out real quick. So I think if Joshua Palmer, if anyone decided that they thought Keenan Allen was coming back, or maybe they might have got spooked because they thought Justin Herbert wasn't going to start, that they should drop Joshua Palmer, and he's out there back on the waiver, you need to go pick him up. You look at what that offense is, and even so, without Keenan Allen, you could see that he's commanding targets. I think there are very few wide receivers who I would say are like good handcuffs. He is one of those guys that I would say is a valuable handcuff. If anything happens to Mike Williams, or if there's a prolonged injury with Keenan Allen, he's the guy you want to have. He's the guy you definitely want to have, and I think there's value there. So you want to have him on your bench. And then the next guy I have is Zamir White, right? So, obviously everyone rushed to the waivers to pick up Zamir White. They thought that there was a chance Josh Jacob wasn't going to be there. But I think what we know is that the talent's there with Zamir White, and also with running backs. Listen, your name can be called at any moment during the season, especially when you're getting 15 plus touches a game. So I think Zamir White could be a league winner. So make sure you stash him. Make sure you have him on your bench. So
do you think Zamir White in redraft?
Yeah, 100%. Redraft? Yeah.
Well, okay. So why do you like Zamir White right now in redraft?
I think
So
I think Zamir White, one, he's explosive. I love young, explosive running backs, right? So, guys like him, they'll come in mid-season in the fantasy playoffs, and they're fresh legs. Right. And the running back position, out of all the positions, to me, are a little bit easier. It's easier for them to come in, especially like rookies. All they got to do is they take the ball, run through the hole. So for me, I think guys like Zamir White, because he's young, he's explosive, and then also you look at what's there on the depth chart. if something happens to Josh Jacobs, which is what it'll take for Zamir White to have value, he would command the early down work and even some of the third down work. I think there's enough there, man. That I think that the McDaniels, he trusts them. Obviously, they've only given him a couple touches here and there for the last couple of games.
Yeah,
if that. But listen, man, I think he's the guy you want to have. You want to have him. He's young, explosive. He'll come in mid-season with fresh legs and just run through hand tackles. So
yeah, it's funny because like right now, Josh Jacobs hasn't scored a touchdown all season, which I don't blame him for necessarily. I think that the offense just hasn't really put him in a position to do it. He hasn't had a lot of attempts even because the Raiders have been doing this thing where when they fall behind in a game, they just throw. And it's like they'll even do 3 passes, 4th down punted, 3 passes, 4th down punted, without even running him at once they fall behind. And it's very frustrating. And it's funny because coming into the season, I thought, man, this Josh McDaniels, he's coming from the Patriots. There's gonna be like this whole group of running backs that are like running left and right. You're not gonna know who to go with. Well, literally all they've really run is Josh Jacobs so far, and it's been hardly even him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, if you're betting on Zamir White, it's like you said, it's more of a later in the season play, hoping that this team gets the offense on track. They start taking leads in games, and then they could just run the ball way more in a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I do think that with this whole Zamir White thing also is that the way Josh McDaniel, the way he's handled Josh Jacobs, it tells you a lot, right? If he has a back that he trusts, he's going to command pretty much all of the touches, right? And obviously, he might spell him a little bit here and there, but if something happened, God forbid, to Josh Jacobs, Zamir White would step in and he would command some high level, high number of touches. That I think, and there's no one else after him. Who's he competing with in that backfield for that early down work? So
yeah, I mean, it's just mostly just guys at this point.
Exactly.
But yeah, for sure. No, I definitely agree with you. That he's definitely worth looking at. Obviously, he's a slower start than people had hoped for because a lot of people hoped that it was gonna be out the gate that he'd be a factor. You know what I mean? So
which is what I thought. I actually thought in the preseason he had the opportunity to really like split this backfield, the early work, but
yeah,
it wasn't meant to be. So
yeah. Well, like I said, as long as a hopeful Raider fan, this offense will get better. And he'll get his opportunities. I do want to say one waiver move that I would not make is Patriots quarterback Brian Hoyer. Like, don't fall for this whole, you need a quarterback Hoyer. No, don't do it. I don't care. I don't care if he's filling in for Mac Jones. Even if you're on super flex, just start out another flex position. Don't start quarterback because Brian Hoyer is not going to be it. He's just not going to win games. He's not going to do any better than Mac Jones. And Mac Jones hasn't even done well, so don't waste your time there. Just thought I'd throw that in. All right, let's jump to my favorite, one of my favorite parts of the show, man. Bold predictions.
All right, let's do
bold predictions. Let's do this. I mean, I'm not starting this segment off first without mentioning the fact that I mentioned my boy Tony Pollard last week. It was a bold prediction last week in this very spot, and I said he'll finish the season better than Zeke for the rest of the season. Maybe I'll be wrong. Who knows? It's a bold prediction, but I think last night's game against the Giants did help prove my point of what I was getting at, is that he didn't get the touchdown. Zeke got the touchdown. That's what made him have more fantasy points than Pollard. But he had a great game from a running perspective, a better game in my opinion. Less touches, more yards. He just needed that damn touchdown that Zeke got. But man, like again, I don't know how else to put it. Like Pollard is the better, fresher, younger back at this point. Zeke is always going to get more carries. It is what it is. But I mean, and like you say, when it comes to injuries, man, if this dude Zeke gets hurt, bro, Pollard's going to go off. But again, I'm sticking to it on that. But I think last night was a good example of why I was saying that. But before that, I just wanted to preface that before I went into my bold prediction.
That's fair. That's fair. I like the fact that we're holding each other accountable, making sure. But again, last night, Ezekiel Elliott did outscore him.
Yep, I know.
Did outscore him. But I mean, it was closer than it was close. Obviously, Zeke got the touchdown. but I think that
these two might actually finish the season pretty close even to each other.
I think so.
Like at the end of the day, it may not be who's better. Maybe like they might be like neck and neck at the end of the season.
I think so. I think we could have a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt type situation where they're both just like putting up. They're both valuable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess I'll hold myself accountable in terms of my lock, my bold prediction of Robert Tonyan. He didn't quite score 10 plus points, like I thought, but it was close. I mean, you know, he I think he had like in like PPR, I think it was about 9.7 points. So again, if you were in a squeeze, you needed a tight end to drop in there. Maybe you had Dalton Schultz. You needed to put some in. Listen, Robert Tonyan, he would have got you them points.
Yeah. So my question to you is this. My question to you is this. That was for our not so obvious lock of the week.
Yeah.
And I had Nelson Aguilar, who I mentioned did not do well. Parker took it all from him. Our not so obvious lock of the week, I had the caveat that it's 10 plus points. You didn't score 10 plus points. Do you still want to give yourself a sympathy win, a pity win, or do you want to say we both lost?
No. I'm gonna give myself the W. And
you want the participation trophy, Jeff? You want the participation trophy? Oh, it's a 2022. Listen, I should have expected it.
Listen, Robert Tonyan his projected points was probably half of that. He was probably projected to get like 6 or 7, or like 5 or 6 points. And look what,
all right,
he got in there and he outperformed.
It was our week 3 not so obvious lock of the week, 9.4 points or more. I guess we give Bruce the award for that. Well, who was your bold prediction last week? Do you remember who that was? Not the not so obvious lock of the week, but the bold prediction. Do you know what it was?
Oh,
I think it might have been about Russell Wilson, actually.
Oh yeah, I think I said my bold prediction is that Russell Wilson will not finish the year in the top 15.
That's right. And that was staying true too. So your bold prediction from last week was looking pretty good still. All right, so let me start with my bold prediction for week 4.
Okay.
We've actually just got done talking about the Raiders backfield and their struggles and the other guys there who you think are should be paid attention to. I'm just for that reason, I'm going to go bold prediction. Josh Jacobs goes for 100 rushing yards or better and his first touchdown of the year. All of this against the Broncos defense, who has been terrorizing offenses so far up until this point. So that's gonna be my bold prediction for week 4.
Ooh, okay. I like it. I definitely could see, that's a very bold prediction. But you know what? I think it's definitely within the realm of possibilities. Again, I feel like the Broncos haven't played anyone. They haven't really.
You're not giving that defense the respect, huh?
Nah, man. Nah, I don't think the Broncos. I don't think they've gone up against anyone that's been formidable. They went up against a Niners team that had Jimmy G, who hadn't played a game in like a year. They were Kittle. This was his first game back, so they went up against the Houston Texans. They went up against the Seahawks. So I can't give it to them. Can't do it.
All right.
So I can't do it. So
I actually have also a season-long bold prediction since you said Seahawks. I think, and since you mentioned Russell Wilson last week, I think Geno Smith will actually end the season with more fantasy points than Russell Wilson. Is that too bold? Is that too bold? I think that's going to happen.
Listen, you know what? That's bold, but you know what? I think it's possible. You know what? I wouldn't put it beyond Pete Carroll to make sure that he has.
Oh, you think there's a little
hell yeah,
animosity here? You think there's a little anger?
A little, listen, these
prove
coaches,
them wrong.
Yeah, 100%. These coaches, listen, they're human. So I think they definitely want to make sure that their legacy and that their decisions are never questioned. So I can see him wanting that. So
good. All right, let's see what you got for bold prediction. Let's see where we're at on this one.
All right. Bold prediction. I think that Justin Jefferson goes down to New Orleans, and I think he finishes the week as the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. He's going back home to New Orleans. LSU. He's a New Orleans boy. The targets are there. The confidence is still there. They trust him. I think that he's going to go down there.
Let's make this bolder, though. Let's make this bolder.
All right.
He had 184 yards week 1.
Okay.
48 week 2.
Mm-hmm.
14 yards week 2. I mean 3.
Yes. Yes.
I want you to give me a prediction as part of this bold prediction. How many yards he'll finish with this week?
Oh, I'm gonna
Let's
say
get in the range. Let's just get in the range.
okay.
An estimate.
I'm gonna say he finishes this week with 170 yards.
Woo! Okay, so 170 yards.
Yep.
Wide receiver one of the week, Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
That's a bold prediction. I mean,
That's
Justin
bold.
Jefferson, obviously one of the elite wide receivers, but when you put a number on it, 170 yards, people are going to bank on that.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah. I think with the Saints defense, they're definitely gonna try to have him play or have man coverage on him with Lattimore. And I think you cannot play Justin Jefferson man straight up. And I think the Saints are going to try that, and they're going to learn the hard way that you can't do it.
How many touchdowns? Let's get
Right.
crazy.
I think 2 touchdowns. I think 2
2
touchdowns.
touchdowns.
170 yards.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
Okay.
Bank it. Put it in the books.
Put in the books.
All right. Well, one other thing we have to bank is our lock for the week, our not so obvious lock of the week. 10 plus points, or in Bruce's case, 9.4, since he wants participation for it. Again, Nelson Aguilar, mine last week, he was a bust. Fumbled on the ball. He actually probably would have got closer, but he fumbled the ball on a big catch. It just got ugly out there for me. So I'm going to go on to week 4. My not so obvious lock of the week, I'm going to change positions this week. I'm going to go running back.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to go with Craig Reynolds.
Ooh,
Craig Reynolds, Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift is out. It sounds like they want him to rest for a couple weeks out here. So Craig Reynolds helping fill in for the absence of Swift. He'll obviously split the work. It's not going to be all his. Williams is getting tons of work out there. But I think Reynolds is going to come up big for people in their flex. Do not be afraid to start this man. Do not be afraid. Do not worry about Jamal Williams. He will be the Jamal Williams that he's been to DeAndre Swift. Craig Reynolds will be his Jamal Williams this week. So I'm feeling really good about Reynolds. Not so obvious lock of the week. 10 plus points. It's in the books, man.
Oh, okay. I love it. I think I love. I'm a big fan of Craig Reynolds, so I support that pick. I think my not so obvious lock of the week, I'm going to go with Cam Akers. I think a lot of folks left him for dead after that first game where he basically got like 2 or 3 snaps and like a couple carries. But at that time, we said, hey, look, we got to give him a couple weeks, got to let him get kind of, get into the swing of things. And I think what we saw this week 3 is that, listen, he's out there now running. He led the team. I think he's going to lead that team in rushing. He is now the lead dog. I think this week 4, he's going to come out and show it. In week 4, he's going to be the lead dog. They're playing against San Francisco, I believe. And I think that he's going to come out and show that, hey, I'm here, and I'm the lead back. And that's, to me, I think everyone is scared of the San Fran defense, but I think he's going to come out there, and I think he's going to do damage. So, yeah,
that's an interesting one. I mean, like you said, we got the defense of the 49ers that they're playing. It's Monday Night Football. And the reason why this is not so obvious is because week 1 sucked. Week 2, week 3, pretty good. So you got plenty of people who still doubt Cam Akers. You got plenty of people who still don't believe, who think it's just hit or miss every single week. I personally am a big fan of Cam Akers. So, I like this pick, obviously. He's just another guy that, people always doubt. They don't, they're high on, they're low on, then he sucks and he's good. The injury, you can't bounce back from it. It's too, devastating. All these things. So I do believe he'll continue to get more and more work. We actually had someone in the YouTube comments asking us about Cam Akers as well last week. They weren't sure they were trying to figure out if they should start Jahan Dotson or Akers last week. So it's a good thing that Akers had a pretty good game for him probably. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, I like the Cam Akers pick. Inconsistent start to the season, inconsistent sometimes last season, or whatever moments he's had. But I do think it's a pretty good pick, and hopefully he can find some consistency to make people believers again.
We'll see.
So I like that. All right, man. I mean, that's really it for today's episode. We covered all the ground that we needed to cover. Do you have anything else that you want to hit the listeners with before we bounce?
No. Listen, I like the fact that this week 4 waiver wire is a little bit more exciting than last week's.
Yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
just reminding everyone, listen, now's the time to make sure that your bench is filled up with high value running backs who could come in and win the league. Depending on your league settings and your league scoring, there's no need to, in my opinion, if it's a 1 quarterback league, having that backup quarterback, or having 2 defenses, definitely you want to make sure you fill up on the high value running backs now. So
right, high upside guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we leave anything with this episode, just don't trust Brian Hoyer. There's just
don't trust Brian Hoyer. Don't
trust Brian Hoyer. Don't do it to yourself. Don't put
Yeah.
yourself through it. All right, guys. Good luck in week 4. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Comment down below. I'm kind of curious, other people's locks of the week, not so obvious locks of the week. So comment down below if you have one. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you hit subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't already. And you can always find us on Twitter, on IG at Rival Fantasy, or you can even find us on TikTok at Play Rival Fantasy. So hit us up, follow us, and that's it, Bruce. I'm out, man. That's all I got.
All right, man.
Good luck in week 4.
Good luck.
And trade me Khalil Herbert. Later, man.
Later.